Okay, we're ready to start, I understand. The council meeting held on the 7th of September. Today is our first Zoom meeting, which is being Zoomed live. I would ask everybody to pay attention while we have the affirmation. We recognise the traditional owners of the land. We are inspired by the early pioneers and by those who gave their lives for our country. We now ask God's blessing on our deliberations and on our commitment to build a better lifestyle and environment. Thank you for that. Just before we go into our meeting, it's our first, by the Northern Grampians Shire's first ever live streamed meeting. So we don't expect it to be perfect. We hope it will be, but we don't expect it will be. So for those that are viewing and for the councillors and staff that are also here, bear with us. If we have any problems, we'll sort them out as we go. Also, at the conclusion of the meeting, the live streaming will be available on the council website for anybody who wants to clarify any discussions that council has had or wishes to look back through the meeting once again. So welcome everybody to the Northern Grampians Shire's first live streamed meeting. I know we're all anxious, anticipated, excited and a little bit frightened of the whole situation, but of course this is the day and age where we have to provide virtual meetings, and the reason for that is to make sure our community is involved in our council decisions and discussions, and to make sure that we are abiding by all the rules and regulations that require us councillors to conduct a public council meeting. So thank you. I would ask if there's any apologies for today. Thank you. I'm getting quite a lot of nods there, so I take it there's no apologies. Confirmation of the minutes of the previous councillor meeting. I take it that we've all had a chance to read them, and we're happy that they're an accurate record of the previous meeting, and I need a motion in regard to the minutes listed and circulated. Thank you, Councillor Heslop.
I'm happy to recommend that the minutes as listed, copies which have been circulated, be confirmed and adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Heslop. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Reid. Thank you. I don't believe we need any further discussion on that. I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Any matters arising from those minutes? I take it that there isn't any matters. I can see my fellow councillors nodding their head in agreement. Item number 4, any presentations or awards? No, thank you. Any presentation of positions or joint letters? No, thank you for that. Could I just ask each councillor to mute when they're not speaking, if you wouldn't mind, thanks. Gives us a thank you. Gives us a better reception as we go along. Thank you for that. Disclosures of interest or declarations of conflict of interest. And I take it that there aren't any, unless anybody is putting their hand up to say differently. Thank you. Item number 7, the informal meetings of councillors over the last month. And there's quite a list there. I'll quickly run through them for those that are live streaming with us. Presentations at the Town Hall, read the draft budget, waste strategy, Halls Gap parking study, provision of civil engineering, North Park early works, electrical services, projects, toilet cleaning, advisory groups, Manu Community Plan, Navarre Community Plan, Local Government Act submission, Council Agenda review, Audit and Risk Committee, various discussions on that, Our investment policy has been looked at over the last 4 weeks, and that's pretty well what the informal meetings of councillors have been in the last 4 weeks, and I would require a motion in regard to those informal meetings of council being approved. Councillor Heslop moves the motion. Thank you. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hosman, seconder. Councillor Heslop, thank you.
I'm happy to recommend that the report of assemblies of councillors be approved.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hosman, you'd like to speak?
Nothing further to add, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other councillors like to speak? I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you for that. Are there any items being brought forward today? No. So we'll move to items 9.1. Let me have another look. 9.2.1, the new resident and workforce attraction strategy and action plan. It's quite a detailed summary given to us by our grants officer. I understand that everybody's had a good chance to have a look at it and to research it and discuss it. Can I get a motion in regard to the resident and workforce attraction strategy and action plan, please? Thank you. Moved Councillor Heslop. Would you like to unmute there, Councillor? Thank you. And go on. Yep. Sorry.
I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation that council accepts and endorses the Grampians new resident and workforce attraction strategy and action plan.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder in regard to that, please? Councillor Driscoll, second.
Happy to second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Driscoll. Councillor Heslop, you'd like to speak on the motion?
Yeah, this is a very important document. The purpose of this document is to assist the development of a marketing campaign aimed at attracting new residents and skills to the Grampians region. So it's a very important document because there's a lot of research being done into why people aren't moving to regional areas and what would make them move. One of the things that the document did point out was one of the reasons that people felt that people weren't moving to regional areas was lack of accommodation, and accommodation that is, I suppose, rental properties is the biggest barrier to attracting new residents to their towns, and not having enough rental properties and being able to buy accommodations. So that's one of the areas that we are looking at in Northern Grampians Shire to try to fill that void. But this document also looks at different populations in the Grampians regions and what are some of the challenges that some of the businesses have had in recruiting people to the Grampians region, and what areas are lacking with our skill force. So there's lots of different things the document has looked at. So it's very important that we do research before we do look at attracting the workforce, and this is what this document does do. And we've actually working with other shires, so it's not just Northern Grampians Shire, we're working with Ararat Rural City, Horsham Rural City, Southern Grampians Shire, and also Grampians Tourism. So Mark Sleeman from Grampians Tourism has been done a tremendous work in this document to get it to the date of where it is at. And then once this document is approved, then we will be able to look at attracting residents and people to our shire with an appropriate marketing campaign. So we're going to extend the existing Grampians tourism branding. I Live the Grampians Way, which that actual Live the Grampians Way is already it's a branding by Grampians tourism. So we're going to extend that because it's already out there and people recognise it, and it makes sense to extend that tourism branding to try and attract more people to our area. And we can accommodate a lot more, so it makes sense. And why not live in regional areas? We have all the services, we have beautiful place to live and great communities. So, you know, I think this is definitely a big plus. I have nothing further to add.
Thank you, Councillor Heslop. Councillor Driscoll.
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. I think Councillor Heslop's given a very comprehensive overview. This body of work started in 2019, so it's probably timely that we progress it now in terms of initiating people to our region. I think the challenges that COVID has thrown up have probably presented us with a unique opportunity to exploit people's sense of curiosity and frustration with city lifestyle and urban living. So I think from that perspective, this push to promote to regional towns to provide obviously much needed population and obviously labour force. Our numbers critically in the Northern Grampians Shire in terms of declining population. That's been declining over the years. So this is a timely body of work, and I think it'll piggyback pretty well on our economic development strategy plan that we enhanced in 2021. So between both of these parcels of work, I can see some marvellous opportunities coming out of this for the Northern Grampians Shire in particular, but also from a regional perspective.
Thank you, Councillor Driscoll. Any other councillors like to speak? No, I take it that's a no. Councillor Heslop, I'll go back to you to sum up.
Well, look, I'd just like to add that there are no ongoing budgetary implications associated with this report. The grant funding received from Regional Development Victoria and the co-contributions that have already been made by the project partners provide sufficient funds for the 12-month marketing campaign, which is fantastic. So, you know, I think it's very, very important that we all get behind and support this document.
Okay, if there's nobody else wishes to speak, I'll put the motion to the vote. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you for that. Uh, 9.4 is the 9.4.1 is the annual audit and risk committee activity report. And it's the activities of the annual audit and risk committee over the previous 12 months. Part of that report is a report from the chairman, Mr. Knights from St Arnaud. And I'm sure councillors have had the opportunity to have a look at his report. It seems like a very favourable report, and I need a motion in regard to a council receiving the Audit and Risk Committee activity report for 2019-2020 financial year. Could I get a motion in regard to that, please? Councillor Heslop, moving the motion.
The recommendation being that Council receives and notes the Audit and Risk Committee activity report for 2019-2020 financial year.
Thank you. Councillor Irwin, I'm sure would like to second that as he's on the Audit Committee.
Happy to second that, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Heslop.
I just wanted to speak to this report. Councillor Irwin and myself are on the Audit Committee. We're the Audit Committee representatives for Council, and this report describes the annual committee activity report. So it's presented to Council. The report shows the activities of the past financial year, the performance review of the past financial year, and then audit plan for ensuing financial year. And I can say that being on the committee, look, we always have a good attendance, which is very important on these committees. People are always keen to come along. We have a good colour of people on the committee. So we have a lot of people with risk and financial experience. And it is a good environment. People can talk and ask questions. And we table a lot of stuff at our audit and risk committee meetings, and we discuss a lot of stuff. And I find it very, very interesting being a councillor, and also very sure that we're on the right track, because we look into everything and there's no stone unturned, and we discuss a lot of things on the committee, and yeah, more than happy to move this off as recommendations.
Thank you. Councillor Irwin?
Yes, I think Councillor Heslop summed that up pretty well. I guess the change coming is the audit. It'll be known as the Audit and Risk Committee. Slight tweaking of the name there, but as Councillor Heslop mentioned, no stone goes unturned. There's some extremely capable people, independent people on that audit committee, and I think it functions very well. So well done to all involved.
Thank you. Any other councillors like to speak? I just might say, as the Mayor, it's always pleasing to see the Auditor General's report yearly. Very seldom is there any problems associated, or any serious problems associated with the Audit and Risk Committee of the Northern Grampians Shire. So that's something that I always look at to gauge how it seems like it's all going, and it's always very pleasing from that point of view. Anybody else like to speak on the Audit and Risk Committee activities? No? Councillor Heslop, would you like to sum up?
Nothing further to add.
Thank you. I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Uh, 9.4.2, the Procurement Policy. Policy that gets looked at, I think, probably annually. And it's in regard to the selection of suppliers and contractors for our Shire. And I would need a motion in regard to adopting that policy, please. Councillor Hoseman's a mover.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'm happy to move that Council receives and adopts the Procurement Policy 2020.
Thank you very much. Could I have a seconder in regard to that? Councillor Reid, thank you very much. Councillor Hoseman, you'd like to speak on the motion?
Just quickly, I mean, as you mentioned, Mayor, it's just a necessary policy. Provides a framework for the selection of suppliers and contractors in order to achieve value for money, comply with all the relevant legislation, as well as to meet expected standards of probity and transparency. And it does that, and it's just a minor tweaking and update, and it's a necessary policy and a good one to have to ensure our compliance. I'm quite happy to move that motion.
Thank you for that. The seconder, I can't recall who the seconder was. Councillor Reid, I think, was it?
Yeah, nothing further, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors like to speak on the procurement motion? Okay, I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you for that. 9.4.3, the S5 delegation update. And we had a presentation from Ms Scully in regard to this. Some minor requirements were needed to be changed, which I'm sure we're all aware of. Can I get a quite a lengthy motion there? Could I get a motion in regard to the S5 delegation update? Thank you, Councillor Heslop, who's moved the motion.
Recommendation being that in the exercise of the powers conferred by S11(1) B of the Local Government Act 2020, Northern Grampians Shire resolves that 1, they be delegated to the person holding the position or acting in or performing the duties of the Chief Executive Officer the powers, duties and functions set out in the attached instrument of the delegation to the Chief Executive Officer, subject to the conditions and limitations specified in that instrument. 2, the instrument comes into force immediately. 3, on the coming into force of the instrument, all previous delegations to the Chief Executive Officer are revoked. 4, the duties and functions set out in the instrument must be performed and the powers set out in the instrument must be executed in accordance with any guidelines or policies of Council that it may from time to time adopt.
Thank you for that. Could I have a seconder in regard to that motion, please? Councillor Irwin, the seconder, thank you.
Happy to second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Heslop?
So rather a long recommendation for a rather, well, an important change, but just a small change. So the small change is that with Council recently adopting its government rules, it is no longer required for the Chief Executive Officer to be delegated this power. The new governance rules state that an unscheduled meeting can now be called by a Council resolution and the mayor at least 3 councillors providing written notice to the Chief Executive Officer. So that's a major change in this delegation. And we have to approve these delegations at a council meeting. So I'm more than happy to move those officers.
Thank you for that. Councillor Irwin?
Yes, as Councillor Heslop mentioned, it is a tweaking of the delegation. Most of the changes have been implemented as a result of the change to the Local Government Act, but this one is a tweaking of the delegation. So relatively straightforward, and yes, I think it'll hopefully add to smoother operations.
Thank you, Councillor Irwin. Any other councillors like to speak? Okay, Councillor Heslop, would you like to sum up?
Nothing further to add, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you for that. 9.4.4, the grants funding policy. And all councillors will remember a presentation by our Head of Engagement, Chantel Thomas, a week or so ago. And I'm sure that it was time that the grants funding policy had a good look at, and our CEO has certainly made that happen. So can I get a motion in regard to that direction, please? I'm looking. Councillor Driscoll.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Happy to move that Council receives and adopts the grants funding policy.
Thank you for that. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Irwin.
Happy to second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Driscoll.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is probably a timely tidy up of our funding policy. We service obviously a lot of provide assistance to businesses, community groups, local organisations to undertake and obviously pursue various projects. So this probably just crystallises all our efforts and provides some consistency to all these groups that are providing for grants. So I just think it's obviously going to benefit our community. There'll be some consistency, and I think it'll be a very good outcome.
You're muted.
Councillor Irwin.
Yeah. As Councillor Driscoll said, it'll bring some consistency. It's always been a bit of a challenging area, the grants, to try and be consistent, have a level of governance and make it relatively easy for organisations to apply. So hopefully this hits the mark, and we'll see what happens. But it's always good to assist community groups along, and if we can do that relatively easy, straightforward with a level of governance, it's a good thing.
Thank you. Any other councillors like to speak? No? Okay, if there's no other councillors like to speak, Councillor Driscoll would like to sum up?
No, I think it's all been said, Mr Mayor, but it's all for the benefit of our community.
Thank you very much. I'll put the motion to the vote. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Item number 10, any notices of motion or rescission? Item number 11, I take it there's no rescissions or notices of motion. Okay. Item number 11, reports from councillors. And to get the reports underway, Councillor Irwin, could you talk on the Walkers Lake Advisory Group meeting? Just quickly.
Yes. Just quickly, look, the last meeting there was a little bit of uneasiness, I guess, about our proposed plan. But look, it seems to be progressing along. There has been some issues around the illegally taking of wood around the lake, but hopefully we can work through these and try and make it a wonderful community facility that it is. I guess if we never had Walkers Lake there and a level of water in it, it would be a fairly dry argument. So it is a great community facility, and it unfortunately had a bit of a fish kill early on in the year, which with some clever thinking and that, I think we can probably mitigate some of those issues. But all in all, and on coming into the spring and summer, I'm sure this facility will be used at a very high level. So that's about all I've got to report, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Driscoll, the hay processor, you'd like to report on that?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. This is probably a good news story that's been bubbling along. The door face over in St Arnaud has been going for about probably 12 to 14 months. Initial contact with the company was probably 3-4 years ago. But I'm happy to report now that after many millions of dollars, our hay processing company, Gilmac, I might add, is a family-owned Australian company, poured millions of dollars into this site. They're employing all local people. The build process have been fairly stoic about supporting our local businesses, which they've done very well. So we're now at the culmination phase where they're about to do their first production run this week. So I think that's as I said, we commend Gilmac, the company, for obviously relocating to our area, but also what it does for our community. So I think this is in times like this is a really good news story in terms of not everything is negative. And this is, as I say, I commend them. I think it's a great initiative.
Thank you, Councillor Driscoll. Any other councillors have any reports?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'd just like to follow on from Councillor Driscoll. Gilmac has just been amazing for our town, and as Councillor Driscoll indicated, that you know, so many people are being employed out there, and it's a great company, and it's doing a world of good for our small town. And yeah, just commend what Councillor Driscoll has already said.
Thank you for that. Anybody else got any reports to give? Okay, just a couple from me, and particularly because of the time we're going through with the corona situation, the pandemic and the lockdowns and things, it's very, very pleasing to see that our sporting developments are well underway. The North Park development is pretty well on time and on budget, and I think early in the new year we'll be over there celebrating the opening, which is under the circumstances is very, very pleasing. And also the fact that we're getting very close to making a decision on the Lord Nelson Park development as well. Yeah, I think in the next month, I reckon we'll be making a final decision on the Lord Nelson Park development, which if it goes to plan and the decision is for council to endorse that development, I think those two projects are just wonderful for the Shire. Over the last month, along with the CEO, we've attended numerous COVID meetings with our pandemic agencies throughout our Shire and through other Shires as well. And I just have to add that the leadership and the contribution and the work that those people are putting in as unpaid volunteers for their organisations, helping us get through this pandemic problem, is nothing short of miraculous. It's been outstanding. And when I say that, these people have been meeting every week, sometimes 2 days a week, for several hours each time, working out what can be done, what they will do if things go any worse than what they already are, what we're going to do when we get out, start to get out of this thing. The whole effort from our Shire has just been outstanding, and I send my congratulations to all the people within our Shire for their representation with us during this COVID lockdown and pandemic. Been a sensational effort. If there's nothing else, anybody else got any reports? No. I would like to get somebody to move a motion that the councillors' reports be received. Councillor Heslop, thank you.
I'm happy to move recommendation that the reports be received.
Thank you very much. Could I get a seconder? Councillor Reid. Could you just, yep.
I'm happy to support that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Heslop, do you wish to speak?
No, I suppose there's no big yes. Look, it's fantastic that the councillors let the community know what's happening, what councillors are doing, the groups that they're participating in. There hasn't been as much, I suppose, with the COVID lockdown. A lot of committees, it hasn't been as much, I suppose, in meetings with a lot of committees, but it's interesting to hear what is happening out there with their councillors and committees, and that, it's still all happening, and it's all very positive, which is good.
Thank you. Councillor Reid. You're muted.
Yes, I can see that. Nothing further, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. Anybody else like to speak? Yeah, if not, I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Item number 12, any urgent business?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to suggest an urgent business matter. Suggest that a letter of thanks for artist Kyle Torney.
Okay. Any other urgent business? Councillor
Me,
Heslop?
I can't get my hand. Shocking.
Councillor Heslop?
I asked a letter of congratulations be sent to Mr. Peter Boyce and the members of the local Chalk Circle for initiating, organising and running the Stawell International Lockdown Street Art Festival, and that this be considered as urgent business.
Thank you. I'll need a motion in regard to us accepting the urgent business items, and then we'll have some discussion on them after that. So if everybody's, thank you, Councillor Irwin.
I'm happy to move that those items be accepted as urgent business.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Haswell. Thank you, Rob.
I'm happy to second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Put the motion to accept the items as urgent business to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. I'll deal with Councillor Reid's motion first of all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to suggest a letter of thanks for artist Kyle Torney. I would like to commend the artwork in St Arnaud that has been in the making for many months. So many people have donated their time to obtain funding for this artwork. which has been amazing around our town. Kyle has offered to do some of the work for the cost of the paint only. Particular is the mural of the CFA. Following the bushfires over the last summer, his ask for this particular piece was that so that the CFA volunteers could be recognised for the sacrifices that they give to our communities. Kyle's latest masterpiece, entitled Hope, on the walls of the grain silos in St Arnaud, features a gold prospector and his wife and son from the 1800s gold rush era. Kyle has done some amazing work around our town, and he is to be commended. So, yes, if we can have a letter of thanks for the artist Kyle Torney, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I get a seconder in regard to that motion? Councillor Driscoll?
Yeah, happy to second that, Mr Mayor. It's a great initiative.
Thank you. I think Councillor Reid has spoken quite eloquently to the motion. Do you have anything to add, Councillor Driscoll?
No, I don't. I think Councillor Reid's covered it very well. And as a spin-off in terms of Kyle's endeavours, I think we forget the impact it has from a national perspective in terms of being picked up on radio, statewide radio. Intelligence tells us that it's had copy in at least 100 newspapers in Australia. So that sort of publicity for our community is absolutely priceless. So, as I said, apart from recognising his talent, he's also promoting our town and our community. So well done, Kyle.
Thank you, Councillor Driscoll. Any other councillors like to speak in regard to the urgent business item for Councillor Reid? Okay, I'll put that one to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Councillor Heslop, would you like to move your motion?
Yeah, the Stall International Lockdown Straight Up Festival just finished yesterday, but it ran for 6 days. So it was initiated by Chalk Circle, and Peter Boyce was one of the main instigators and organisers of it. So this actual festival went Australia-wide and worldwide. So I think you had nearly every continent in the world that was participating in it. Look, it was just absolutely fantastic. I followed it on Facebook, and the amount of artwork and very clever, some stuff that people have done very, very clever in their artwork. People from Stall, there was a lot of local artists, a lot of local families that got together and contributed to it. And it was a fantastic way for families to get out and do some family group stuff with their children, all being in lockdown. We're all a bit bored, so it was great to be able to participate in this, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So we actually threw something on our pavement, got washed away the first time, so we had to do it again, and I think the second time round it was actually better. So we actually really enjoyed being part of this festival, and I know that it reached out to a lot of people. You could do mosaics, you could juggle, you could do artwork, you could sing, you could do street, drawings, and it was a cost, like, people could participate without spending a lot of money. So it did open it up to a lot of people and any age group. And I just think that something like this had so much impact to a lot of people. A lot of people either followed it or contributed, and it just brought joy to a lot of people. So I just think they've done a fantastic job. Hopefully down the track they may look at doing this as an annual event. It was definitely very, very popular. And look, I just think that I've spoken to Peter, I know the amount of work that went into it, and the amount of work that he said to put hours and hours and hours of volunteer work, and all the committee of volunteers. So they put a lot of work into getting this up and running and maintaining it. And I think they've done a fantastic job. And I just want to say thank you.
Okay. I might have missed it. Can you just clarify who we'll be writing to? Is it individually or to a group? I might have missed it.
It's just wanting to write to Peter Boyce and the members. Is it talk circle.
Okay, yep. Okay, could I get a seconder in regard to that? Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'm very happy to second that motion.
Okay, Councillor Heslop, I don't think needs to speak to it anymore. That was well presented. You wish to say anything, Councillor Hosmans?
I think Councillor Heslop has summed it up rather nicely. Fantastic effort, and yeah, certainly some recognition is deserved. So a letter would be appropriate.
Yeah, I think it's been a great project from my point of view as well. I've heard a lot of comments about it, and I'll make sure that I get something put into our press through our weekly councillor reports, and I'm sure the CEO will make sure that I pursue that. It's been a really great effort, really great public personal effort, that one, and I have to agree with that. I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you for that. Item 13, public question time, and I understand we might have one public question. And Vaughan, do we hand over to you now to bring the public question into the meeting?
Yeah, Barry should be appearing shortly.
Okay.
Hello, Barry, are you there?
Yes, hi Vaughan, how you going?
I'll hand you over to Murray.
Oh, good day, Barry. How are you going?
Good, thanks, Murray.
I can't see your photo on our screen, but we've got your voice certainly.
I can see you.
You have a public question?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'm asking this on behalf of Bernie Casey, well, community too, but Bernie Casey ultimately, predominantly. Over the past 3 years, Bernie's been asking a question: could we possibly provide green waste deliveries to our transfer station free of charge, so enabling people to, well, firstly take the green waste to the transfer station and not dump it, down back roads. And this may also create a business for somebody, a composting business perhaps, because I remember a couple of years ago someone did show a bit of interest in doing that thing, so that it might create a business for somebody, also clean up the roads, keep the rubbish of the road. So other shires in the district are doing it apparently. And the question is, as it is now pruning and cleaning up time in the spring, people are moving a lot of green waste out of their gardens. And would it be possible for the Shire to provide this service free of charge, just for green waste only?
Okay, thank you for that question, Barry. And I'm sure all of my fellow councillors have some knowledge of the green waste stuff. We've been talking about it for many, many years. And in fact, we discussed it again earlier today. So the council itself, or the councillors, are certainly trying to work towards providing a green waste service to our communities. If I may, I might hand over to Trenton, who is providing some information today for you in regard to that. Are you there, Trenton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I should be online now.
You're there, yep. You're receiving Trenton Fithall, Barry?
Yes, I am, thank you.
Okay.
So I'll answer the question directly, if I may. The council obviously doesn't currently provide green waste to our transfer stations free of charge, as you alluded to, Barry. So just to put some context around it, green waste is required to be processed and discarded at our facilities. That all has to meet the environmental protection requirements and whatnot, much like anything else. Currently, that cost is worn by the transfer station gate fees, and it's also subsidised by rate charges. So obviously, any change in the gate fees will see an increase in how much council subsidises that service. The waste sector currently is going through a major reform at both a local, state and national level. To cater for this, council is currently reviewing its waste strategy, as the Mayor alluded to before. Under the strategies engagement and through other feedback that we've received, green waste has been highlighted as a large piece in that strategy. So part of the strategy is about reviewing our green waste, how we treat it and how it's charged. That is what's under consideration in the strategy and in the action plan that's coming out of the strategy. At this current point in time, that waste strategy is sitting in draft and is to be go to council at the next available opportunity. And that will hopefully provide more information to both yourself and the community.
Okay, thank you for that, Trenton. Barry, I might just add that from the discussion this morning with my fellow councillors, it would seem like that council is keen to certainly look at what we can do in regard to green waste and hard waste. Whether it can be free of charge or not, we're not at that position right now, but I'm sure we have prompted our CEO and Trenton and others to have a fairly urgent look at the green waste, hard waste policies of our waste arrangements.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. I must add that, if somebody brought in, there's also the question, people bring in a bit of rubbish amongst the green waste. Well, if that was the case, they obviously wouldn't meet these guidelines and they would have to pay.
Yeah, clean green waste.
Let's be clean.
We'd be insisting on. Yep.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you for that question, Barry. Just before you go, has the Zoom meeting, from your point of view, gone okay?
Very good, very clear.
Yep.
I thought it worked extremely well.
Okay, thank you very much, Barry.
Good, thank you.
Okay, we've got 3 items to discuss in closed council of a confidential matters. So first of all, those items are 14.1, 14.2 and 14.3. And I need a motion in regard to closing council so we can discuss those confidential matters. Could I get a motion, please?
I'm happy to move, Mr. Mayor, that we deal with items 14.1, 14.2 and 14.3 in closed council.
Thank you, Councillor Irwin, and Councillor Heslop seconding there. Can you demute yourself there?
Happy to second.
Thank you. I don't think it needs any discussion. Just put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. I'm sorry you didn't get an opportunity there, Councillor Driscoll.
Yes, I'm mortally disappointed, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. So now that we've got the open council meeting closed, I understand we've got a pause for a moment or two. We're all still getting used to this system that we're working under now.
Thank you, Mayor. We need to pause for about 45 seconds.
Okay, thank you for that.